How do you determine what your BRRRR buy box is? Before you start buying properties with BRRRR, like we talked about in the last video, you really have to understand what your BRRRR buy box is. Because if you don't understand these parameters, you're probably going to jump into a property, get past the buy, past the rehab and the rent, and end up with a bad refi, which means you have to bring in more money than you were thinking, or the cash flow isn't working, or maybe you just don't even qualify and you have to sell it. We've seen many people come to that juncture where they thought they were going to get a good BRRRR property. They get to the refinance, they had to end up selling them. Actually, we had a couple clients that we came in at the end, find out and figure out that they actually had to sell all three of theirs because they weren't cash flowing, because they did not figure out what they could afford and what was the perfect buy box before they started. So what's in this BRRRR buy box? It's really just four things. What is your minimum cash flow requirement? Not only yours, but maybe your lender has a minimum net cash flow they need to make sure you qualify. Number two, what is the amount, if any, that you want to put into a property? That is the amount that you're going to put in and not get back out at the refinance. Money that you're willing to keep in the property. Third is, what is the maximum loan that you feel comfortable with, you qualify, and that fits the cash flow requirements for this particular market. And last, your maximum amount for purchase and rehab. We need to know that so you actually know where you stop purchasing and buying. Let's go through an example of what a BRRRR buy box would be. Well, let's just say your minimum cash flow for a property is $500 in net per month. You want to make sure every property you look at would cash flow $500 a month. Your cash flow number you'll come across as you start doing more. You'll start understanding the rents for the area and the cost for the loan. Those numbers together will net you out to make sure that they not only hit your target, but your lender's requirements also. Next is the cash you have to put into the property. How much money do you want to put in? Some people want to put in zero, and that's great, and some people want to put in as much as they can to keep the loan amount down and the cash flow up. Third is the max loan. It may not be the max loan you qualify for, but it's the max loan that works in this particular area. What is the maximum leverage you could use in this area and still keep your cash flow numbers and within the bank guidelines or the refinance guidelines? As you understand, most banks will refinance you on rate and term from 75 to 80% of the future or the appraised value as it sits now. After you've bought it and rehabbed it, what's the appraised value now? They'll go up to 75 or 80. Cash out somewhere between 65 and 75. But that may be too much for your particular area or might not be enough. So you need to understand what's the maximum loan for your particular deal. Next, you need to understand what is the maximum amount of money you have into the property for your purchase and your rehab. What is your total budget so it fits in your buy box? You need to understand, on top of that purchase and rehab, you're still going to have carry costs and closing costs. All of those numbers are going to have to fix in. So let's look at an example. Let's say your maximum loan that you want to do is $250,000 and you're willing to put in the $30,000. That's $280,000 total. And everything from the purchase to the rehab to the closings, because there's two closings, and the carry costs have to fit under that $280,000. So when you're looking at properties, you have to take into account, number one, if it's a major repair, you're going to be holding it longer. Less rent is going to come in, so it's going to be more money out of your pocket. If it takes your lender 6 months to use the appraisal instead of 2, 3, or 4, then you're going to have to hold it for 6 months, which means you're going to be paying higher interest rate on that buy loan, that hard money loan. And you have to keep all of these items so you're not surprised at the closing for the refinance. Because you don't want to get to the refinance and figured you had the purchase and the rehab would keep you at $280, you would need no more money. But you got to remember all that other money that's coming out of your pocket for the closings and the carry. There's a great quote that I love from Ezra Taft Benson. It says, "Prepare and prevent, don't repair and repent." So it's all about making sure you're prepared to win. If you like this video, give us a thumbs up, share it if you can. We're here to help people become successful in the BRRRR process. All it comes down to is, if you prepare for BRRRR before you buy, if you know your buyer's box, you're going to be successful. 9 of the 10 people who stop doing BRRRR that we come across, it's because they got to the refinance and it just did not work. It did not work because they had to bring in too much money. It did not work because of the cash flow, or it just didn't work because they couldn't actually refinance and they're sitting in the hard money. Then they have to sell, and they may have to sell for less than they have into it, or they may just have to sell and get out of it, then they just stop doing BRRRR. BRRRR is a great product. It's a great way to get into rentals. You just have to do it right. Before you start buying, make sure you understand what your BRRRR Buy Box is. We have a great tool you can download here where you can figure out and put in all your numbers so you understand where your buy box is. And if you have any questions or you have a deal you want us to look at, go through all the numbers, we'd be glad to help. Reach out to us on the email below. And as we say, happy investing.